Your uni, your team. From kick-off to the final whistle. This is the Shock Radio Sports Show.
Good evening, we're back at the Shock Sports Show. Thank you, Adam and Alex. We've got Josh who's here every week.
Oh, here we go again. Back together again.
And we've got an actual athlete in the building this time. I know, he's looking around to see where he is. He doesn't want to discuss it, but Corey, what's that medal around your neck, mate?
Is it even in shot? There you go. Manchester Marathon.
We'll clap you in.
Well done, mate. Well done.
You, boys. Thank
Ran
you.
for a great cause, and we'll discuss that along with Salford, who the promotion chances are getting there. The Formula One, which is back in Miami this weekend. The Premier League might have been won this weekend. We don't know. We'll have a look at that. But first off, we've got a little bit of the Wombats to kill the director. Yes, that was the Wombats with Kill the Director. But we're going to pan over to Corey now because...
Again,
yeah, Corey, the focus is on you for the opening stages here because you did something momentous over the weekend, didn't you, pal?
is that what we're calling it?
Yeah, I think it's great. I couldn't run a marathon.
Right.
But you did.
I did.
Yeah.
Run. Ran most of it.
You got there in the end.
Yeah, I did.
Do you want to fill us in then?
So I ran the Manchester Marathon for a charity called Cure DM. So they look after people that suffer with this sort of muscle deterioration disease called myotonic dystrophy. I ran it for this young lad called Toby, who's about 20 months old, and he suffers with it. And yeah, raised a fair bit of money for him. So yeah.
Good. You've done it for a great cause. You should be very proud of yourself.
Cheers, mate.
It's all right. We're happy in here.
Yeah, well, I think we're all proud in Shock Towers.
Really, really great cause. I didn't know you'd done it until we were sat just waiting, and he went, "Oh, I'm just gonna pull this out."
Is it?
And then just pulled out his pedal, pulled it around his neck, and went, "Oh yeah."
Well, I thought while we're doing Manchester sports, I may as well.
Yeah.
I think
end of the year.
This deserves another round of applause.
Yeah,
surely.
it does.
Oh dear.
Well done, mate. Well done.
Outside as well,
Bravo.
How long did it take you?
Like 6.5 hours. It was not a good time, but that's not the point, is it really?
Did you do it in fancy dress?
No.
Oh.
Did you not see the weather?
And
Mate.
you could have gone as like a 118 man. They don't wear a lot, do they?
I don't know what that is, and I'm not about
You'll
to
know
Google
what a
it.
118 man is. You'll have to search it later
Oh,
on.
mate. One of the
It's the
best
advert.
costumes ever.
It's from the old advert where they wear like is it insurance? They wear a big
Yes.
white costume, got a big moustache and a big black hair. You'll know who they are. There's two of them.
Headbands, everything.
Right.
You'll know who they are.
Okay.
At what point though did you start to? Obviously, it's all a mental game, isn't it? Really, the whole running.
massively.
I mean, at what point did you start to go? I can't do this. Like, I'm
I don't
gonna
know.
Keel over.
So I've newsflash. Bad idea for a man that's run a marathon. I've got really bad knees. I know. For a young person, I've got terrible knees.
It's more common than you think that. I went through
imagine.
school and I could count with like two hands how many people had bad knees and would complain about it on a daily basis.
Oh yeah. So I did the half in September, and mile 10 in the half, my knee started going, and I was like, it's all right. I've only got like 3 miles left. I can make it.
You got another one.
And then the same thing happened on the full. Mile 10, knee starts going. I thought,
Oh no.
well, I've not got 3 left this time. I've got 16. So that was when I pushed towards like 18, 19. I was like, I'm in trouble here, seriously. And then I managed to get to some like cool spray. Someone on the sidelines that I met ended up giving me some cool spray. So I just numbed it and sort of pushed through it. You can't back out midway through, innit?
You've got another knee for a reason. Like,
Exactly.
Just run on that one.
Exactly. And I'm right-footed, and it was my left knee. So
Winning.
exactly.
Yeah. Did you do it listening? This might be a stupid question, but did you do it listening to music?
Oh yeah, definitely, 100%.
What were you listening to? Like Rocky Balboa, like
No, not quite. I don't doubt I probably repeated the same tunes about 7 times, but yeah, Sam Fender and the like. A lot of chin up.
A lot of chin, yeah.
A lot of chin up.
Good song. Are you proud of yourself?
Yeah. I don't like talking about it.
I get that.
I know people might find that like I've brought it into the studio. Oh, I don't like talking about it, but like, I don't know.
Something to be proud of, mate. Because
It's
not many
very-
people can sit there and say, "Oh, I did the Manchester Marathon," and consider it, like you say, how hot it was as well. Like it was
Yeah, the
absolutely
heat were
sweltering
ridiculous.
that
It's
day.
just carried on, hasn't it? We're sat here in the studio. Some of us are melting as we speak.
Yeah.
I'm like an ice cream. I'm gonna be a puddle at the end of the show.
You're wearing quite a light top as well. I'm not
know.
sure how you.
Yeah, and shorts.
Yeah, I'm just a hot guy in it.
Just like to complain, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are really
loves
British,
loves a
mate.
moan.
Did you see any famos? Any famous people running?
No, not really.
Did you run it on your own? Did you?
So
do it
I
with
ran
friends?
most of it with a mate from home, but then he's quite more like athletically blessed than me. So
He's
at some point he was like, you know what, I need to try and beat my dad's time, and I was like, all right, just go then. You're not going to do it with me. So he left. So Aaron, if you're out there, shame on you for that.
Shame on you, Aaron, for leaving him.
Shaking my head.
Sunday night then, when you did it, big cheat meal afterwards.
Nando's immediately.
Nando's, oh yeah.
Nando's, oh
immediately,
nice.
What did you have?
Butterfly chicken, garlic bread, peri chips, made the job lot. I was having it all. I was having it all.
Proper
That's
do
great. That's a proper meal.
Yeah, too right. I've got a picture of me. Genuinely, there's a tear in my eye when it gets put in front of me. There's genuinely a tear in my eye.
And a massive pint in the other hand.
Oh
surely.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Great. Well, do you know what? I think it calls for another round of applause.
Oh god.
Third one of the
Third
day.
one.
The hat trick.
We get claps from outside again as well.
Oh,
Superb.
nice one.
Unreal. Really good job, mate. That was, incredible.
There might be some more clapping over the weekend in Salford if Salford do win, because if they win, get a nice 3 points against Carlisle. They're in the playoffs. They've got a chance to get promoted, which we didn't think would happen.
Either that or they do get clapped by Carlisle.
Well, yeah.
One way or the other,
Yeah.
mate.
I don't think that's going to happen, because if we look at Carlisle, they're sat 23rd. They're already down in the league. Although the form's not that bad. They've won 3 and 5.
I'm going to pull the most original line out the pocket, and if I had a quid every time I'd say this, I'll probably have about 12 quid. It's League 2, you can't predict it.
No,
unpredictable.
you can't.
Every game is unpredictable, and I will say that until the day I die or the day I retire.
Do we think Salford have got a chance? They're sat, as we speak, 7th. Corey?
Well, of course they've got a chance. The 7th, Carlisle are what, 23rd, 22nd? Carlisle confused me this year because they've got a really good squad. They've got a lot of ex-Wigan players in there who I would have liked to have kept over the pre-season. So I don't know how Carlisle are down where they are. That's probably why they've picked up in form towards the end of the season. The quality's probably shone through a bit too late for them, but it's definitely not one to overlook for Salford. But again, the 7th, you'd fancy the chances, especially while Grimsby have got Wimbledon.
Yeah.
It's very much in Salford's hands to sort of get this over the line now, one last push, and get into them playoffs.
Anyone from 1st to 9th can go up. The league title's not been decided. That's between Doncaster and Port Vale. But from 4th to 9th, any of them teams can make playoffs. And there's some tricky customers there. Walsall, Notts County, Wimbledon that you've just mentioned. They play Grimsby, so that'll be a tight game. What do we see? Do we see Salford getting through? Do we think they'll get promoted in the end or stumble in the playoffs?
Like Josh said, League 2 is almost impossible to predict. I can't see it being Walsall. I think the sort of tumble down the league that they've had since Christmas is one of the bottle jobs of all time, to be honest. As harsh as that sounds.
Yeah,
for
well,
Walsall, but
I agree with you on that, because who would have thought Doncaster? They were sat 4th fit for most of the season. All of a sudden,
Quite steady.
Yeah, shot out of nowhere. And again, League 2, intense league, it's an endurance test in many ways. And you see a lot of clubs that start off the season really well, they just absolutely explode. And then you see ones like Doncaster that just are consistent enough and carry it through right till the end. But I agree with you on Walsall. I think can't particularly see that.
Walsall were in a position where when Nathan Lowe left the club to go back to Stoke, they needed 5 wins. As it's panned out, they needed 5 wins and they would have been promoted. And they're now 4th. They couldn't even get 5 wins in 6 months after Stoke took Nathan Lowe back from them. I know.
I'm looking at some of the form here. And like Walsall, you said they're not won in 5. Quite a few of these teams look like they're going to stumble across the line, and it's not going to be pretty at all. Salford are in the best form under Carl Robinson, so that's a positive to take, isn't it?
Absolutely. You consider where, again, I always say, let's go back to where they were this time last year. It was a very different story. It was a relegation battle, scraped the way through. And obviously, well, it's right cutthroat, isn't it, really? Because you're going down to the National League at that rate. But thankfully stayed up. Carl Robinson dealt a rough hand when he arrived at the club. But I think he's really settled now as a manager. And he's managed to set his stall out a little bit. What kind of style of football he wants to play. What players work with him, what don't. It's been a year of lessons, and I think Salford now are really starting to get on the ball. It's been a year where they've been slightly inconsistent. So, in my eyes, I think with the quality of the squad, they should be a little bit higher than they are. But that's just the way it's gone. It's been a year of lessons, a year of trial and error, really. But
we've always said with Salford though, throughout this year when we've covered them, goals have been their big issue. We're sort of seeing that increase now. They're scoring more goals. Cole Stockton's got 14 for the season. Isn't amazing, but it's better than where he was. They've got a couple of players on 12 and 9, so they're getting the goals. The goal difference is positive. It's plus 10, which is you can always take that. Personally, I think Salford they'll get playoffs. If they'll go up, it's a bit more of a luck of the draw because whatever can happen on the night can happen on the night, and then when you get to Wembley, pressure, Jesus, it can kill, can it?
Yeah, I think like we've already said this, League Two is hard to predict, but when I look at playoffs, I look at who's in form. I think a lot of people will naturally look to who finishes fourth in League Two for who's the strongest team, but I don't think that's the case. I think it's all about trajectory, and Walsall are on a really, really downward spiral, whereas Salford, if they manage to get in, they're probably the informed team in the league that are in the playoffs. And then you look for people that are in hot form, goal scorers wise, and realistically, whoever finishes in that last position, it's like in the Championship. I'm looking at like Coventry and Middlesbrough for who finishes sixth, and they'd probably take my money for winning the playoffs.
You've got to end it on the best form. It doesn't matter where you finish because you're all in the same position. End it on the best form, and I think you can really take that to try and cross the line, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, we compare it to like Man City. We've spoke about this season. Like once you get in a habit of losing or winning games, it's hard to get out of. If you're coming into the playoffs finishing sixth and you've just won 3-4 on the spin, it's a good way to go into it. Whereas Walsall say, just lose, draw. It's not a good way to enter the playoffs.
Your playoff club is always who you least expect. And I think you can say that even high up towards Premier League promotion. I mean, who would have thought Nottingham Forest would ever get into the Premier League again?
It's not even that. You've had Ipswich, you've had Luton, Brentford. They're your big three unexpected turnouts over the past couple of years, aren't they?
Absolutely. It can happen so regularly because, again, like you say, once you're in that mindset of, oh, we've lost X amount of games or we're on a win streak, it's hard to get out of that form. And yeah, like you say, it's whoever can come with the boatload of confidence and what set of fans can be the most vocal.
Yeah, I'm going to ask you then, come the weekend, do we think Salford will be in the playoffs against Carlisle, Josh?
Yes. Yeah, I'm going to say so. I can't call how far Salford will make it in the playoffs. I think they've got a good chance.
I think they've got a great chance.
Yeah, definitely. But I can see them picking up the win and getting to the playoffs, which even if they got knocked out and they didn't make it through, that's still a really successful season for them, something they should be proud of. But absolutely, it'll be a tidy win. I think obviously it's down to the wire now, and they're going up a club that doesn't really have anything to lose, so they're just there to use a lot of the younger players, perhaps rotate off the bench, and potentially cause a little bit of trouble. So Salford have just got to keep a steady head, and it should be smooth sailing from there.
Yep, I see a similar thing. I think Carlisle, for me, a lot of the time you look at relegated teams, you think they've got nothing to play for, and sometimes that works in their favour. Carlisle, I don't see it that way. I think they've got a lot of players like Jordan Jones, Charlie White, Terrell Thomas, for me, will be one eye on a move out of Carlisle the first opportunity they get. So I don't think they're going to be going tooth and nail to try and take points off Salford. So I think by the end of the weekend, Salford will be in the playoffs. Yeah,
I think credit has also got to be given to Carl Robinson. With the job that he's done over the past 18 months, we saw he came in January last year, just before they played City, like this year. And he's taken the club from 20th they finished last year to now 7th, which is it's a great job. And if they don't get promoted, I think they'll do all right next year with him and just keep moving up, keep steadily moving up. And I think League One, it's not a time of like if, it's time of when, if I can get my words out. I think that's right. But we've got a little bit of cast coming your way, and then we're going to move on to the Formula One season, which is down in Miami.
Your uni, your team. This is the Shock Radio Sports Show.
Yeah, it's a little bit of cast here on your Shock Sports Show. We've got Josh and we've got Corey back again. We're going to move on to the F1 now. We're back in Miami, aren't we, over the weekend, Josh?
I've got good memories from last year. Of course, Lando Norris's first ever win in Formula One, and what a race it was as well. And I feel like, I don't know, it's probably the one Miami Grand Prix I've genuinely sat down and enjoyed, because I think it took a while, but we actually managed to get a good race there for once.
Unexpected winner when we were in the Max Verstappen dominance, weren't we? And it's the race that started it all for McLaren, isn't it?
Yeah, I believe after that, we'd never had the same winner twice after Miami.
No.
It was consistently always a different driver. It might have been the same team, but it kind of started flipping in between Charles Leclerc, jumped in at Monaco and Monza as well. You had Piastri, of course, started winning around Hungary time. George Russell as well, Lewis Hamilton even. And you just started getting all these different drivers. You started picking up little wins here and there, and it became probably the best season we've had since 2021.
Yeah, should we just touch on the season we've had so far? It's been a little bit of a qualifying championship, hasn't it, Corey?
Yeah, well, like you mentioned, Lando Norris winning Miami this time last year. This season, it's been the Oscar Piastri show. He's really sort of... And a lot of people in the off-season were sort of talking about Piastri maybe taking over Lando Norris's, like, the more dominant driver for McLaren, and I didn't necessarily see it this early on, but to be fair to him, he is absolutely flying.
Apart from Australia, where he went off in the rain, he's been a real steady customer, hasn't he? He's been great to watch because, and I say that, we haven't really watched him because the battle's not been for first place, really, has it?
Absolutely, and well, even for Piastri in Australia, he performed really well in that race. Obviously, Lando was the faster driver in that case. However, you even look at it when, obviously, he had that off and he was tumbling down the order towards the latter end of the points. He still kept a steady head, which you can't say for many drivers. I don't think I could say that for Lando Norris in his case. And he made probably the best move of the season still now, which was against Lewis Hamilton, turn 11.
That was lovely.
Amazing move. I don't see many doing that, especially on a greasy track as well. It was really impressive with a lot of tyre graining already. And since then, he's just really took it in his stride. You know, just been picking up plenty of quiet wins and always being up there. And, you know, we're starting to see the Oscar Piastri effect now.
His overtake in Saudi Arabia at turn 22 was good as well. We just sent it along the inside of the. It's not really a corner. It's just a fast straight with a little bend in it.
Very quick chicane.
No, not even before. It was before the chicane. It was going into the chicane.
Yes. No, you're right. That's my bad. I do apologise.
Who do we think a winner's going to be then? Do we reckon McLaren are going to continue and be the best team, and then we're going to have a fight for second to 6th, 7th, or do you reckon we see a different winner? Corey?
I think McLaren will take the constructors again this year. I think Lando Norris at some point is going to click into gear and start winning races. Piastri's already started flying for them, so I think again we're looking at McLaren constructors, and like you said, it's a fight for second and third and beyond. Then
there's only 10 points between them. We are saying that Oscar's been steady and the better driver, but Lando's picking up the pieces. He's on 89 points. Oscar's on 99. Come the summer break, is it important that one of them is ahead of the other, or do we still want them as close as this?
I think that they're bound to be close together because I think this year there's no such thing as team orders, papaya rules, whatever you may want to call it. I think McLaren realise now that they're on steady pace. Piastri's had a few years under his belt in that team now. He's not just a rookie anymore like he was a couple of years ago. Playing second fiddle to Norris, he's actually on that level. And if anything, Lando's the one that's struggling. Obviously, Norris has been in that team since 2019. He's going to want to maintain that control. So I think naturally they are going to come very close together. But McLaren's just got to keep aware that it needs to stay a healthy and sort of respectful rivalry, which it is currently right now, no doubt. But you don't want it to spiral absolutely out of control, much like we saw, you know, everyone thinks Mercedes, back when Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg were together. You think if you go back, way back in time, you had McLaren again with Senna and Prost. You don't want it to go back into that toxic sort of mentality where they'll go as far as to crash the other one out.
McLaren might not, but it'll make more of an interesting season, won't it?
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing that I wanted to put to you boys as well, do you think Piastri's benefiting from not necessarily being the poster boy? And do you think that'll rub Norris up the wrong way, that he isn't performing as sort of the neutral, maybe casual F1 fan would expect? You'd expect Norris to potentially be ahead.
Since Lando started winning, I think we've seen a side to him that is a bit petty, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think he's lost a lot of, not lost supporters, but people's opinions changed on him. And I don't think he likes that bit, and I think he puts too much pressure on himself.
There's a statement.
He's one of them, isn't he?
There is a statement to be made, though. I think you make a really good point, because if we turn back the clocks, really, you've had Lando Norris now, who's kind of in struggling form because he's in the spotlight. He's there. He's seen as the next British world champion. You go back a few years ago, 2022, and you had Charles Leclerc, who looked like he was actually going to have a go at the title in that season, towards the start at least. All of a sudden, he crumbles under the pressure. And, you know, you kind of, if you think about it, it is starting to happen more regularly. Drivers that maybe should have won the title years ago didn't end up doing it because they were in the spotlight. So perhaps, maybe, but equally, I think we're really starting to, Lando Norris is really starting to get, I think, a little bit exposed for kind of where he is as a driver right now.
I think he can take a lot from his teammate, especially the cool head. We've never seen Oscar lose his patience, get flustered or anything like that. He's not prone to mistake. He's prone to mistakes, sorry. He's not the perfect driver, but he very often bounces back because he moves on, I think. He doesn't beat himself up. And that's a quality that I think Lando needs. We've seen, and he said it himself, he puts so much pressure on himself. Isn't that right?
Yeah, but then at the same time, that is a quality of Max Verstappen, really. And Verstappen's been so successful. He's not exactly... I mean, I suppose being cool-headed in decision-making and being cool-headed in terms of going at your crew are two different ways of being cool-headed. But Verstappen is quite temperamental at times.
Yeah, he is. I think Verstappen's temperamental, and you see Verstappen boil over, and then it's just all gone. Whereas we've not really seen Lando boil over. We just see him lose his patience, and that just continues to build. I think they've got different breaking points. I think that's probably the best way to describe them. But this is probably wrong of me, but when Lando moans and gets angry, I just find him annoying. But when Max does it, I find it really funny, and I don't know why.
Really?
Because I know when Max does it, he might try and crash into someone. Like, where was it where he made contact with Hamilton and they both bounced up? There was that Hungary last year. It's the first corner. It was Hungary last year. Verstappen's just lost his patience, gone for a silly move. He's miles behind, and Hamilton just took the corner from the outside. And Verstappen's
that took me a minute. Yeah,
he sent him like flying like that. And I don't know. I just find Lando a bit annoying when he moans.
I think Max is quite comedic because obviously he's got that relationship with GP with Jean-Pierre Lambias, and they both just kind of try and interject with each other. Like I recall just Saudi just gone. Max gets the 5-second penalty, and GP just straight away goes, yeah, radio off please, Max, and just interrupts him as he's about to go. And then Max just starts giggling and going, yeah, but it's a joke, and F this, bleep that, just typical Verstappen sort of liners that you tend to get.
Do we think he's got a chance? Because he's obviously, that car is terrible. It's gone from the first to the fourth fastest.
Never rule off Max Verstappen.
Yeah, and it's fourth by quite a comfortable margin. But he's only 12 points behind. He's won a race. He is driving really well and he's getting luxuries out of that car that he probably doesn't deserve in a lesser driver, isn't he, Josh?
100%. I think with Max, you just can't rule him out because even though the car doesn't reflect it, he's still in that rich, proper championship form that we've seen since 2021. Really, he's not gone off. If anything, he's been
Even
leveling himself up.
2020, he was the third best.
2020, he was brilliant
in that Mercedes. It was like it was on rails.
Oh, the W11 was just unbelievable. Probably the best car ever made, arguably in Formula One. But Max, absolutely, you can't rule him out. Especially at Suzuka, just dominated completely. And, he didn't necessarily have the best car that day, yet he managed to put it there. And it just goes to show he's one of the best drivers we probably ever had in the history of Formula One. But someone I just want to bring back, and I think people don't really give him enough credit maybe these past couple of years, but George Russell, I think there's a word to be said about him. I think he might be the biggest dark horse of this season because he's just been consistently chipping away, finding himself getting a couple of podiums. In some cases, he looked like he was going to fight a little bit for the win, and he's always been just there. I think as that Mercedes car develops over the season, I'm going to throw this question onto you, Valentine. Do you think George Russell could be in contention by the end of the year?
No, I don't.
What? Explain.
There are
point evidence. Explain.
There are 3 better drivers on that grid than him, but he is best of the rest. I'm not saying he won't win the World Championship, but he'll win races. He's been the most consistent driver for probably 2 years, behind probably Max and the 3 that are ahead of him in the championship. And then 3 that are ahead of him in the championship aren't going to fall off a cliff. 2 of them are in the best car on the grid by a mile, and one of them's a 4-time world champion, who's probably the greatest driver of his generation and probably the next generation as well. So I don't see him beating any of them this year. Next year, when the new engine regs come in and the new aero regs come in, it's a possibility because that Mercedes could be better than the McLaren.
Well, it's funny you say that actually because there has been rumours, and it's all speculation at the end of the day. We don't know what's going to happen next season, but apparently Mercedes seem to have got the package right more than most other teams, which, even more than McLaren, more than Red Bull, and of course Ferrari in amongst all their struggles. So we could potentially see, next year or even this year, because I just don't want to rule out George Russell because he's always there. Obviously,
he's always knocking on the door.
Exactly.
You can't rule him out, but I just don't see him overtaking the other 3. What about you, Corey?
No, I'd liken it to like a Nottingham Forest title charge in that like you've just got experience and quality above him in places where realistically, as much as it's nice to romanticise about it, he's probably not quite there.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Russell's been great, but he's always had a little mistake in him. We saw Singapore, was it 2023?
Yes. That was a really bad mistake.
He clips the wall on the inside and just carries on straight into the wall, and he loses the chance of a win. And I just think he's got a little bit of like a mistake in him, and he's not rounded out yet. He's not the finished package, which isn't an insult to him, because I don't think Lando is either. I don't think Oscar is. I
think George is more there than Lando. And this isn't me saying, oh, I'm a George Russell fan. I'm pointing into perspective because it's been such an unpredictable year. I mean, I said at the start, I think Piastri will win the World Championship, but part of me was a little bit like, oh, maybe I'm just like going off my head or something, or I am romanticising something. But here he is, right at the top. I think we all expected Lewis Hamilton to absolutely smash it in his first year at Ferrari. Look at him, he's fighting for 9th and 8th. Obviously, you might not have agreed with that, but there was quite a few people who were saying, oh, Lewis is going to cook at Ferrari, he's going to be unreal. Oh, 8th World Championship, it's right there. And it's not happened. So it is a season of unpredictability. It's a season of things that perhaps we didn't expect. We didn't expect Lawson to get sacked, Tsunoda to get promoted.
I don't think well, Lawson shouldn't have been in the seat anyway, in my opinion. It should have been Tsunoda anyway. Tsunoda's been RB since 2021. Yes, since 2021. He's done 4 years. And then just wasn't put in for Liam Lawson, who had done 7 races at that point, and only turned up when he was racing Daniel Ricciardo and Sergio Perez, didn't he? You saw at Mexico, Perez's home race, Lawson just wouldn't let him past, and then everyone else that went past him, he didn't have a clue.
I think for Lawson, yeah, that's a whole debate, but in fairness,
poison chalice is the best way to describe that. Second Red Bull.
100%. Well, unless you've got the Australian flag next to your name, and then you're absolutely fine. I mean, Mark Webber and Ricciardo are probably the only 2 people in the past decade that have actually done well in that second Red Bull seat, and any other nationality has just absolutely been cooked and just not been able to make the way through. But something I want to bring to your attention, because we got news, of course, during the break, and it was Mexico has been extended until 2028 on the F1 calendar. I just want to sort of ask, what are your thoughts on that, lads?
I hate Mexico. There's only so many times you can go through that stadium section in and not get boring.
Just insulted every Mexican listener on.
No, the circuit's terrible. It's one long. What makes the circuit great is it's at a silly height, so all the engines have to be like changed and made different, so they all aspirate differently because there's less oxygen. It's the longest straight on the calendar into a corner that always on the first lap someone goes wide and smashes into someone. And apart from that, you've got that weird double hairpin at the top and an S section that like is half-arsed. So it doesn't do anything for me. There's only so many times you can go through that stadium. It's got a great podium. Take that podium and stick it somewhere else and leave Mexico, the circuit, behind. I'm sorry.
You love that little elevator,
I think
honestly.
It's great.
You are the target audience. You're like the average consumer. You're like, oh, it moves, but it goes up. It goes up.
It's great. It's a great podium.
God! Oh my God!
Find me another podium that has a car lift.
Well, I'll do you one better for a podium. We were just saying this at Monza, by far, so much better.
Does it have a car lift?
No, but it's a balcony.
So is Mexico, mate.
Yeah, but it does it better.
Anyone can have a balcony.
And you got the Red Sea underneath them for.
Doesn't every garage in the country have a car lift?
Yeah, but no, have you seen? Have you seen the Mexico?
I know. I have no idea.
I'll tell you what, Will. I'll tell you what. We'll take you to Formula One Auto Centre, and you can go and watch the little car lift to go up. And you're like,
We're going to show Corey the Mexico podium. We'll come back. We're going to discuss a little bit of the football that's gone on in the Premier League. But first off, it's a little bit of Smiths before falling inside. That was Oxygen by Catfish and the Bottlemen. We've got 10 minutes left and then it's time for the news show. We are going to move on to the Premier League, and that title was wrapped up last weekend, wasn't it, on Sunday, Josh?
What more do I need to say? Wow.
We were wrapped up. We'll move on, shall we? How are we going to do it, Corey?
You've got no time for this.
How are we going to do it, Corey?
I don't want to talk about that. Oh. I'd rather talk about Liverpool.
Walk on.
No, I've got no time for it.
Walk on.
It's not been.
With
you've won, but it's not been a competitive Premier League.
Oh, here we go. So hang on.
It's not
genuinely.
All right, 14th
How
in
can
the league.
you say that as a team that are 14th? You're meant to be the reason it's more competitive, and you're lumbering. You'd be in a relegation battle if the 3 teams that came up weren't so bad.
Well, the 3 teams that came up were bad, so we're not.
Yeah, but you're a big player in the reason this league weren't as competitive as it should be.
It's all right, mate.
United haven't been competitive for 15 years. Well, 12 years.
Hang on a minute. How many times in that time have you got top 4?
Top 4's not competitive for league title, was it?
But you'd have taken points off them.
We did take points off them.
Yeah, but you'd have probably... My point is, you would have been
points.
more competitive and they wouldn't have found it so easy.
Sorry, how you didn't win that game, I'll never know.
Which one?
Anfield away
2-2.
for you. Yeah, Maguire at the end.
He was offside anyway. The pass was bad. He was offside.
I genuinely thought we were so off form at the very end. I thought you would have won
You
that.
stumbled across the line, but you have a little bit.
I wouldn't say stumbled. No, I wouldn't say stumbled. I think we've hit the ground. We hit the ground running dead early. Straight away, first game. I think we had a shaky first half against Ipswich away, and then afterwards we just took off. And ever since then, other than maybe occasionally, I don't know, the odd game against Arsenal, because that's always a bit 50-50, dropping the occasional point, we've been pretty solid all year round.
I think towards the since that loss to PSG,
yeah,
it's not been as smooth sailing as I think it has been for the rest of the season. That's my point. Like you've won 6 games after there.
In terms of the league, we've been absolutely fine. But everything else, we should have won more trophies this season. But again, when you consider the fact that it's Arne Slot's first year, and I mean the qualities extracted out of some of them players like Ryan Gravenberch, Cody Gakpo, Curtis Jones.
What he's done with Gravenberch's great. He's taken a big lad in midfield.
Just made him world class.
Just made him world class. This sort of leggy number 6 who covers a load of ground. And he's great. He's
used Gravenberch to start the flow of play, which we weren't really seeing under Klopp.
He was more of a box-to-box, not a sitting midfielder. I also think, like, Szoboszlai and McAllister, I look at them and go, they're like number 10s, which is weird, because he plays, they're both number 8s, or one of them can play as a 6 as well. Because you look at where they were used at Brighton and Salzburg or Leipzig, and they were both number 10s. I also find it funny that Szoboszlai every international break just scores a free kick.
Just a free kick, right in the top stand.
And it ain't just like a little P-roll, it's... Did you see that? He's got a foot like a traction engine free kick. Which is great.
I wrote down here questions for Josh, and you've touched on it though. But
right.
I was going to say, so would you have taken this at the start of the season? And considering where you were at Christmas, how do you feel?
I feel very happy that we've won the league because we could never really celebrate it during lockdown. Like, I think, everyone always raves on about, the COVID Cup, blah, 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 all this yipper yapper, all from the United fans. But we were able to celebrate it in front of the Kop. Everyone was bringing out the pyros except the daft people that bought from that one Everton fan.
That is so funny. Choose your fighter, Richard Allison or Blue Flares.
I don't think I've...
Richard Allison was so funny.
I don't think I've ever seen the Kenny with that many blue pyros in my life. And honestly, people started fighting each other because they were like, why are you bringing blue flares to Anfield? And, they all thought they were Everton fans in disguise. It was hilarious, honestly.
I'm just looking at fixtures now. I'm looking to see like your form throughout the season. It's been great. You scored 11 goals against Spurs this year, which is mental. 6-3 and 5-1.
We faced them a lot, to be fair, like in the cup
that's
as
just
well.
In the league.
From the very start, when we went to Spurs away, it was a really good game. It was probably one of the best we've had. We weren't using our full squad, and fair play to Spurs. They've had a lot of injuries, and especially at that time they'd lost a lot of the first squad players. But still, we have been solid this year, but I think there's little things that I look at, like PSG. Obviously, PSG are amazing right now in terms of European football, but we could have had them. I reckon.
PSG are the best team in Europe at the minute. If they don't make the final, I'll be shocked. If it's not a Barcelona PSG final, I'll be very shocked.
I don't want to rule off Arsenal just yet.
Neither.
I feel after how they performed against Madrid, I think that's a real statement.
Yeah, but I think they've just played the home leg, haven't they? And they lost 1-0. I was fully expecting them just to defend, score 2 goals on the counter. And I thought PSG winning 1-0 was a bit of a shock, if I'm honest. I don't see PSG losing that lead now.
Equally, I think the 1-0 defeat to Arsenal, I think that'll motivate Arsenal a little bit more as a squad. Right, we've got to come back at Armada, because you could argue there was egos flowing a little bit after, we just beat Madrid. We knocked Madrid out of the UCL. We're on top of the world. We're going to cruise through this. And, of course, they've got that bitter hit of reality on the back of the head, and now they've got to switch on again.
Thoughts on that T4 that Arsenal had on yesterday? Above their end? It was just a big gun. it looked awful. That's my point. Have you not seen it?
No, it took me a minute. I think I know what you're referring to.
I have no idea what you're referring to.
Do you know what a tifo is?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they had one of them across, not like behind the goal either, just across. I don't know what the stands are called at the Emirates. Across one of the longest stands.
Hang on.
And it's just a big red like tifo, and it's got the cannon on it.
I think
And
we need to give up with things like that in this
It
country.
wasn't folded out properly. No, I agree with you. The atmosphere and especially the Emirates, it's not on the side of the pitch, the ground. It's very sloped out. The grounds in England aren't tailored to atmospheres that cater with a tifo and fireworks. And
like Turkey. Leave it to
Turkey.
Yeah.
Leave it to the Milan derby.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. We can.
Leave it to the German league as well, to the Bundesliga.
Yeah, the Bundesliga are really good.
They love a good
Dortmund do well.
Dortmund, yeah.
Even Bayern as well.
But
yeah, we need to. Some things are better left to like mainland Europe clubs, and
I always
that
say
is
this.
one of them.
I do wish we had that a little bit more. Like I thought Anfield was brilliant, like during that match. But why don't we have that every week? Why don't we always have that? And it's just. It's a real shame, to be honest, because you look at clubs like, I don't know, Celtic, Rangers, they're just a little bit up north in Scotland, yeah?
It's not a stone's throw away, it's a bit more than that.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, in reality.
Compared to PSG and Bayern,
you see the displays they get, they're brilliant. They're amazing.
But again,
their
is
football's tailored towards it because they're a lot more cutthroat.
But it's also because I guarantee that most of the clips that you see from Celtic and Rangers are from that derby. When they're playing St Mirren at home, you're not whacking out the tifos in green flares.
Yeah, I suppose that's a good point in some sense.
So I don't know. It's like here, like Arsenal aren't whacking out tifos for Brighton at home, but they will for PSG.
Yeah, I do agree with you. There's a time and a place for a tifo, and I think in this country, it's probably never the time nor the place.
Not in certain grounds.
I'm going to throw a question onto you, Corey.
Here
And I'm asking you because you're the unbiased person in the room in this case.
Yep, go on.
Man United, will they get relegated next year?
Yeah.
You're not allowed to comment on this, Valentine.
They won't, but that's probably only because the gap between the Championship and the Premier League is horrifically big.
Oh, if United finished this place, 30, 40 years ago, the chances of United getting relegated are probably upwards of 70%.
Yeah.
But then again, the chances of like anyone from 10th to 20th getting relegated are higher as well.
But I just think it's damning that you lot have been so much worse than. I suppose we're moving on to Man United now, aren't we? We've done Liverpool, it seems. Will doesn't want to hear it anymore, but we'll move on to Man United. Will that make you feel better?
Oh no, I'm easy, me. If I was to talk about any team in the Premier League, it's Wolves because they've been mint since it's.
They've been
So basically, what you're saying is that you've signed Mateus Cunha, and now you just want to talk about Wolves.
Statistics are.
Have we signed Cunha?
I mean, you're pretty much there, aren't you?
You will, and his career will get ruined
Fabrizio
because he's made the
Romano's
wrong
pretty
choice of a
much-
club.
Well,
He's
I
going
don't
to
know about that.
He's going to a ground covered in mosquito netting. I mean, when has Trafford had a mosquito problem? That's my question.
I don't know about that though. I think where United have gone wrong over the years is people like Antony, and you're bringing in these players for like 80 million from foreign leagues, and it just hasn't really clicked. Whereas Cunha is like, it's as close to a nailed on. You know what it's close to? You lot signing Jota, and like signings like that they haven't done for years.
Yeah, but United go and sign Jota from Wolves. How much did you get him for? 40 million, 35, 40? You had probably 25 onto that for United. And that's the thing. We
don't do deals often. We don't make transfers often, but when we do, except Nunez.
United's issue is they spend too much money on daft players. And in fact, like Palace did it. If you went and got Adam Wharton for 18 million or whatever they paid for him, A, brilliant signing for a start. B, if that goes wrong, and this is very so out of touch saying this, 18 million for United is easily written off because of how much you make. They're the sort of signings like United need a left back. Go and get Anthony Robinson. Why don't you just go and get Anthony Robinson?
But you aren't a development club.
No, we're not. But Anthony Robinson's ready.
But what you were saying about Adam Wharton, you've never been that.
We have.
Well,
recently.
Well,
last 15 years, you've not been that. Because anyone that you have tried to buy to do that, Anthony and the such, and all these young lads from Ajax, it just didn't work.
Just before we wrap up, Will, and I'll leave you until the next show to debate on this, you can have Darwin Nunez for £1 and a Fredo.
No, this has been the Shock Sports Show. We'll be back next week when hopefully United do better.